Hello, everybody. I'm next up on the queue. Good evening from the United Kingdom. My name is Bret Warshasky, and I'm tuning in tonight to share a dream and a mission and a vision with all of you. And my intention is for this to be more of a conversation than a long pitch or presentation. So I'm going to do my best in the next couple minutes to give some context about the topic and ask one main question. And hopefully there's a few of you here, or a bunch of you here, who'd like to be part of that conversation. So the topic for me is what I call regenerative filmmaking and transmedium productions. And this is all leading to what I call an IRG, an infinite reality game. And the tagline for this inquiry is what I call ending the celluloid footprint. And I'm going to explain celluloid footprint very quick. I'm going to explain regenerative filmmaking quick and transmedium production quick, so we have some context. The one question that I'm going to ask, and I'm going to come back to it so we don't forget, is what does it look like and feel like to up-level film production to its most wondrous possibilities as a pivot point for social action? So how does film production itself, how does film as a medium become a pivot point and become its greatest expression possibly as a human invention? It's the kind of question we're going to be asking. So if anyone would like to, at some point, ask a question or join in, we're just going to try to do popcorn. And you can comment as well in the chat if you like. And if you just give me a couple minutes here, I'll try my best to do this quick. I'm a little bit nervous. I've never spoken about this before in public like this, but it's been an ongoing dream that I've been cultivating in different ways for many years. So the idea of transmedium production is obviously taking off from the idea of transmedia. So transmedia is generally thought of as blogs and social media and posts and things of that nature that we're all used to across the media of the internet. So I'm using the word medium to mean the materials that we use to create works of art. So transmedium is across all materials. And I'm taking the liberty to assume or put forth the proposition that everything that we can use and see and name is a material, whether it's permaculture, nanotechnology, film, XR, VR, distributed ledger technologies, religion, philosophy, art, science, education, economics. These are all mediums that we use to create things. So transmedium is how we go across and beyond all of these mediums and what happens when we synthesize them into something that's greater than the sum of those parts, which is where we'll get into the infinite reality game part of the equation. So that's what transmedium in general, what I'm referring to, all those different mediums being available to us in our creativity, in our social action. The idea of regenerative filmmaking comes from the idea that regeneration is life affirming. It's building on things and growing and expanding. It's the idea that, for me, that we need to take a systemic and holistic approach to the world and to life. So regenerative filmmaking is what does filmmaking and film production look like in the context of regenerative efforts? Now, if you take regenerative filmmaking and you take transmedium production, and then you take one more element, traditionally there's something called an ARG, an alternate reality game. This has been used over the years for marketing campaigns a lot, for things like Lost, by musicians. And this is where you help create a narrative across different media. You leave cookie crumbs, you have emails and fake websites and all these things. So people can become participants in a narrative and help co-author that and sort of be in the game in that reality. Some people would also say that modern propaganda is an alternate reality game. And I'm sure
Is he frozen for anybody else?
Yes, I guess it's something.
Brett, if you can hear us, you're frozen right now.
Yes.
He's rejoining probably, so.
So the chat, who's on chat who says it's part of the game, we are the game now? Time?
Yeah, right.
Okay. Thank you. I'm sorry about that. Obviously, I had a Wi-Fi issue at the wrong time.
Yeah, it's okay.
So to wrap this up, my dream, my personal vision or dream around these ideas is that we take something like a $500 million budget that we might use for something like the Avengers. And the celluloid footprint is the idea of, you know, the carbon footprint is that we're extracting things, right? We're extracting things, we're consuming fossil fuels. So for me, the celluloid footprint metaphorically is about how we consume Hollywood productions and entertainment. And what are we leaving behind in that legacy of consuming and extraction just for entertainment's sake or for a good message or a good story? But what we could do with a budget like that is we could, for example, build cities and villages that are regenerative with all the latest technologies and aquaponics and people living in decentralized ways. We could build 10 of those as the sets. We can build aquaponics as props. The actors and the crew, instead of getting paid, could be stakeholders in all of these things. So imagine what we can do with that kind of budget if we just uplift our inspiration and our possibilities. And we realize in the time of the 2020s, in the time of where we're at in the world, is this not what we might want to choose? Where every decision we make is critical and every resource we have is imperative to go towards whole systems of greater freedom and consciousness. So with that in mind, I'm going to see if anyone wants to raise their hand and just give some relates or reflects about this idea of film production and using the budgets these ways for regenerative narratives, and how that becomes an infinite reality game because people will be able to participate going on with this production. It's an infinite reality production. VR, AR, movies, IMAX, laser projection mapping, social networking. It's one big infinite reality. So thank you everyone for listening. I appreciate the patience. And I'm just going to see, Robin, did you want to share something?
Oh, I'm not unmuted. No, I popped on a little late, and this sounds super fascinating. So I need to find a way to backtrack to rehear everything.
Okay. If you want to take a
any information for you.
Yeah, if you want to take a quick look at some slides I have in another space, I'll just click them in here. It take you 1 minute to sort of get the gist of it. Is there anyone else that would like to put forth an idea or share or relate?
Well, I'll say thank you for bringing this to us. This is a collective dream that some of us shared at Esalen Institute in the past. That's how and this is like a timely place to suggest it. Wow, you're kind of like blowing my mind because I live in New Orleans and it's our 15th anniversary for Katrina. And I've often, thought of this. How could we get a producer to engage with us on this? Because as I was an AI consultant at IBM, and I used to say I would pitch AI development to the movie industry, to Hollywood, and it was about $100 million investment. And the IT department didn't have that budget, but the producers certainly did. So my idea is we could actually create an AI and train it culturally and locally within this, this container that you've just described, and make a movie, and in the term glass to glass, from because we can collect so much content from everyone on the quote set, and the set could be the entire city, the entire community. And then with artificial intelligence, it helps us, of course, to sort, categorize, train, and edit the film to where we can make a feature film, a series, an arc. There's so much possibility here. Thank you, Brad. This is really exciting. Just what we need for inspiration in this time of the COVID. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else have anything? Thank you, Debbie. I appreciate it. Anyone else have a thought or relate?
I'll chime in a little bit. First of all, there's, I guess you've probably heard of the Latitude Society.
No,
If
I'm
you
not familiar with that.
Look that up. That was a Silicon Valley guy that had $2 million and created a whole alternate reality. My friend Lydia Lawrenson wrote a really good article about it and how she got sucked into it. And the issue is that they didn't have like a good spiritual background. It just became, it was a really cool thing that didn't have legs. It didn't really look at things mythically. The other guy you should look at is, Abraham, blanking a bit, Odyssey Works. And so that's a theater company that spend 3 months and they research one person, and then they create a
for other people, or am I frozen?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we hear you, and we can hear you, Bret. But it looks like your video is frozen, but we heard you.
And
okay,
so Odyssey,
you're good.
So
Great.
Odyssey Works. They actually, it's like the movie The Game, where they create a transformative experience for one person. And so the theater company goes, they research one person, they look at their whole life, and then they create a whole experience. Abraham, who's a good friend of mine in DC, is that's his theater company, and they run workshops all around the world. They were supposed to do one in Portugal, I think in the next month or two or so. But that's good. That's good stuff for that. And then you could start small. Like if you just got a budget to buy a house, got a bunch of people together. You've got in the UK, I think they've got a show. In the US, there are these things. Or just buy an island somewhere. go back to whatever Survivor or whatever. And so that then becomes the set.
What the fuck?
Okay, go ahead.
The approach that we've been taking related to this in your infinite game and all of this, and even raising money, has been entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is a spiritual path, and then entrepreneurship as and just taking a step back, if you look at film, the way film works and the way we look at media is I look at it from a physiological perspective. And so when you see a film, why do girls, or what, not just women, but why do women cry when they watch Titanic, is because they see all these images on the screen and this, okay, which one do I identify with? And then the more I identify with that character, the more that binds, the more the character does what I would do or does what I aspire to do, the more I connect with that and bind with that. And it goes through their journey, and oh, there's this Jack character, and oh, well, there's that guy in high school that I dated who's kind of like this Jack character. And it basically brings them through to wombs, and then it kind of reveals that, and it kind of uncovers that. And so when you watch a film, I'm looking at it and I'm kind of identifying it there. Video games are a lot more potent, because when you're a video game, I see the character on the screen moving around, but then I also have a sense of agency with that character, And so the connection that I have to that character, when that character dies, I'm like, oh shoot, you know, I spent all this time and we had such an amazing thing. And so there's a connection there. And then if you look at the material world, you know, in a Jungian kind of way, it's all animo, animus, and shadow projecting into all of these characters that you see in the world. And so what we do with entrepreneurs is, you know, what is it you really want to do? And you are playing the game of your life. And as you try to do something, you know, how does the reality respond? And as you try to, you know, we look at it a hero's journey perspective, and the raise of, you know, hey, I'm going to pitch to this VC. You know, one of the things you could say, hey, I'm going to pitch to Draper, Tim Draper or something at this VC, and that's a character. But if you look at it mythically, when you're pitching to the VC, you're basically encountering the threshold guardian. And so I have to overcome the threshold guardian. And so you can start looking things mythically. And then once you get funded, you know, you're in the belly of the whale, you're in the unknown, there's the road to trials, there's the apotheosis, there's the return journey, assuming you're successful, the return threshold, and then master of two worlds. And so can you look at things mythically? And what we do is just take your life and can you look at that in a mythical kind of way? And so then you've got your set, you've got your show, and you're actually living your show.
Yeah. Thank you, Gino. Super great information. I'm going to see if anyone else would like to share. I'll just note that, yes, starting small is fine, or starting with one eco village as the first set and then making that the home base is totally possible. And that's why I also said using film production as a pivot, because film itself, the way we're used to it, like you're saying, the fact that it's on this, just on that screen, and the fact of the way it's produced is only a piece of this puzzle. So for me, the film production is a portal, possibly a portal into the bigger vision.
And then look at what other people have done before. You know, clearly Disney film with Disneyland, etc. And then some of these documentaries with YouTube where they ask a question and people answer, and then you can build content based upon a simple viral meme.
Yeah, I mean, I'm personally in R&D at the moment, basically trying to understand things, and that's why I'm so grateful to be on the call. Glow, go ahead.
Hey, so grateful to be here. My name is Glow. I'm currently in Costa Rica, which is a beautiful, magical place where it's an amazing spot to film. And I just want to thank you, Gino, I don't know what your name is, but for bringing up like Leonardo DiCaprio, because that's really like the goal right now, is to call in Leo. And I love what Bret was saying the other day about just like, you know, if we spend $10 million on building a set in the desert to make it look like a Western, why can't we use that to build eco villages at the same time? Like, why can't we use that as a set? So I really love that. But a lot of things have been coming through right now, and what I'm feeling is that, you know, moving into a space of collaborating with so many different partners, like for example, using the Venus project, the idea of the Venus project, because they already have kind of like the all end, the end, like vision of a resource-based economy where everything is flowing and everything is amazing. So I'm really seeing using these names and these brands to unify these organizations in order to create these, like this film series, whatever it may be. And what does it look like, I'm just gonna read this question again. What does it feel like to uplevel film production to the most wondrous possibilities as a pivot point for social action? Yeah, so having a real call to action. Right now, but a lot of us are working on maps. So I feel like the goal for me right now is to have a call to action at the end of each documentary film, whatever it may be. So like, okay, here is for a crowdfunding campaign, or here's like, download the app. At the end of the movie, you get inspired to download the app. And like, that's what connects and unites the world. I have a meeting with my good friend Sandy just like this afternoon, and she's connected to she's working with National Geographic editors. So this is our goal here, to produce a short documentary here, but then as well moving into this level of how can we unify as like this huge collective and actually build, like we only need a couple $1 million to produce a Hollywood type film. I mean, it's not that difficult once we have everything set in place. And I've just been kind of meditating a lot and like receiving all these visions of like creating our new collective story and uniting as one, and to remember that anything is possible, and basically moving into receiving unlimited energy and 0 point energy, returning back to source, into spaceship Earth. So moving into shifting our old story of destruction into a new one where we're all supported, we're all abundant. Yes?
I just wanted to ask if you could wrap it up just in case anyone else wants to share, because it's only a half-an-hour session. So I just want to.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, that's good. I'm good.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. It's exciting to hear people on similar pages, which is really the most important thing to me. Some things are inevitable. It doesn't matter. I don't know what I'll do or what my part, but I feel like the universe and evolution is inviting us into this space, no matter whoever is doing that. Does anyone else have a thought or relate that they'd like to share on the subject? Let's see. Okay, I don't think I see anyone. There's 5 minutes left in this, and someone can shout out if they want to, or put a note in. Otherwise, I'll just share a couple more thoughts from my perspective. And thank you to my friends who I do know that have showed up. I put a post out on Facebook saying I was a little nervous. So I want to thank those friends for showing up and supporting me for this half an hour. And for new friends that are here too, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm open to different possibilities. I want to be part of a bigger, diverse team to bring that in. Personally, as my friend Gino here knows, I'm on a mission to rebirth philanthropy. And that's part of my platform, is actually to receive unconditionally, because I personally don't feel the planet can go through the eye of the needle of its rebirth that it's happening right now through transaction and profit. So I'm pretty strong in holding out for finding the aligned philanthropist. And in our work, we've received philanthropy, which can be crowdfunding too. It doesn't just have to be some old white guy in the family fund or something like that. So I want to be clear about that. And we use this idea of spiritual philanthropy, which is more of a gift paradigm. So there's different ways to contribute. People have land, they have buildings, they have skills. So it's not just about money either. I want to be clear about that. When I say philanthropy, I really mean spiritual philanthropy, as I named it, which is that diverse set of things that people can give, and they're investing in consciousness itself, or they're investing in the myth. As you might say, they're not really investing in a traditional return on investment. They're investing in a realization of their I. It's a new kind of ROI for me. So I'm very cutting edge and pretty stubborn about that, but I'm also not opposed to being in a bigger field with people who have more diverse skills and who are more bridge builders. And I'm hearing you, Gino, by the way. I'm gonna try to understand how I can make this happen, because the thing happening is more important to me than being stubborn about one specific myth I have. So I'm gonna find the right situation and work on that. So, and again, just to reiterate, it's not necessarily about a movie or the thing. It's about infinite reality game, that everyone is involved that way, and that we're using resources, again, skills, intentions, as well as materials and goods. We're using all these resources in a regenerative, co-creative, loving way. And that's the bigger story than any one medium, whether it's film or XR or entrepreneurship or religion or government. They're all things at our disposal to be able to use creatively and mindfully. And it feels like in the 2020s, being mindful about how we use our resources is very important. So I've got a couple of minutes left. Would anyone else like to share anything in the last couple of minutes here? Go ahead, Glow.
I would love to speak for a moment. If I don't know if everyone's open to it, but I would love to kind of drop into like a meditation or like a visualization. If you're open.
Sure.
Okay, cool.
We can finish it out. We've got 2 minutes left, so I'm happy to
just kind of getting into that space of creation, of like visualizing the new earth, of how we can like get new ideas, what if, and moving into imagination so that we can kind of like move into a new space. If you guys are open, but
Sure, you share your contact information. People are asking how to get in touch with you.
I will. Thank you, JJ.
Sure, yeah. Awesome. So we can I just want to begin by bringing us into our bodies and into our breath. And you can close your eyes and begin to visualize yourself in a new space. Take a moment to visualize the earth from space. What does it look like? You can see all the stars in the galaxy infinitely expanding as we're consciously expanding our reality. You can see the earth slowly rotating. You can see the water, the clouds, the oceans, the land. And everyone's looking back at you and they're saying, we made it. We did it. We co-created the new earth. We regenerated the planet. Everyone living in harmony and abundance, eco-cities, local food.
Word.
Everyone is celebrating. What does that world look like to you? Take a moment to stay in this space, raising your energy, raising your vibration. A space of possibility to a new realm of imagination.
I've got to end it there, Glow. I'm only a half an hour, just with respect to the next person coming along. Thank you so much. Thank you for doing that, Glow. Thank you everyone for hanging out with me and inspiring more ideas and conversation. I hope that my at least my passion and my dream inspires you too. Thank you so much.